right, I needed to go over a little bit, I think.
Okay. By the way, everyone, this is Celeste.
Hello, Celeste.
So, hello. And I'm not sure that I will be giving you new information, but these are two workshops that are from the credit union in Berkeley that I serve on the board of. And there are lots of sites out there that have financial information, and those 3 slides that you have, we'll look at the end. They give us some more links to different places.
Yes.
But this is their workshop already put together. So things have changed a little bit, probably since each of us had our first check or our first bank account. So kind of a reviewing where we are now and what we want to do, what you are looking for in banking and having accounts. We're not going to go into investments. I understand that's next week. Somebody's going to come and talk to us about generational wealth.
Yes.
But right now, first, let's start off with, there are lots of people within the community that do not go to a bank or a credit union for their financial needs for a number of reasons. And there are people that might have a bank, but they really don't use them for a lot of their financial matters. They're still using other things like check cashing systems and payday loans and so forth. So what I'm going to do is give you some information and ask you to review your own needs and what it is that you want to do. Now, let's see if I can do other stuff for me here. So that first account that I opened, well, was a savings account. They still have those. They still have Christmas clubs in some places and that sort of thing. And they pay you interest. They don't do a very good job if you want to use your money. Savings accounts are to hold on to your money, and they pay you interest.
Pardon me.
First of all, we should go, I'm sorry?
Can I just ask you, at the bottom of your screen, there is like to the right, there's like a screen. Okay, come over a little bit with your cursor. Bring your cursor over to the left, to the left, to the left, or I guess to the right.
You need to make it bigger? What are we trying to do?
So you're right. Just move over. No, you don't have to do that. Just close that.
Yeah, cancel that.
Yeah, and now there's like, see where the book is? And
Don't grab that tab you're grabbing.
Yeah,
Go past that tab.
Yeah, right, there you go.
Right, to the right.
To the right.
To the right. Not that one, to the right.
That's a pretty.
No, do the one to the right, far right, that the screen. Click that.
Okay, you guys are in the far right, so there we go. Okay.
The screen.
Yeah, there you are.
There we are. I couldn't see it.
All right.
I had my Zoom screen in the way.
All right.
Okay, is that better?
Then you went back. Click it again. Click that screen icon again.
I don't have the screen icon anymore.
The same thing you just clicked, you unclicked.
Yeah, but that went away.
Oh.
So, okay.
It's right next to the Zoom. That one.
There we are.
There you go. There you go.
Right there. Oh,
Right
you didn't click it.
But I did, when I click it, it goes away. Okay, so.
Okay, well.
Well, what about that other one was better? If you don't.
What is it that I'm trying to do?
You're trying to put it into the mode that you're supposed to use. That. Click.
Yeah.
Slideshow mode.
Yeah, there you go. I wonder why it doesn't go.
Yeah. Try the one next to it. It worked. The one right next to slideshow, the open book.
Okay.
What is that thing about the
That's better. Leave
There
it
you go. There you go. Leave it there. That's good.
All right.
Excellent. Excellent.
Okay. So, we were talking about non-banking businesses, And so we have check cashing services and so forth. In Chicago, we call them currency exchanges. I don't know how much currency it exchanged other than taking your money away from you, but we didn't do much changing of one type of money to another. So basically, there are banks, which are for-profit institutions, and they may be corporations, but they are governed by a board of directors, and their emphasis is on making money. And they are owned by whoever their owners are, the shareholders. Credit unions, on the other hand, are not-for-profit institutions, and they are owned by their members. So once you open a share account, you become a member. And credit unions are governed by a volunteer board of directors. So as I said, I'm on the board of Cooperative Center in Berkeley, and I am a volunteer, and so are the other board members with me. So that makes a difference in how we operate and what our focus is. Of course, I'm a little biased. I think credit unions work out better for us. So they both have insurance up to $250,000 on your account. They both offer different banking products, online banking, ATMs, debit cards, credit cards, different kinds of accounts. So you may very well bank with a credit union and not know any different from what you had when you were banking with a bank. So there are credit unions. Well, there are lots of credit unions, and some of them have been started, and you might be familiar with them from an employer or a community. Like I believe there's a Travis credit union. When I worked for Whirlpool, they had a credit union. So the credit unions, again, do not belong to that company, but those are the groups of people that started it. The one in Berkeley was started at a grocery store. It was Cooperative Center. So it started from there. And some of the credit unions can be open to the community. Everybody that lives in a certain area is welcome to join. Others are restricted to certain groups. So Alta Bates was one of the groups for our credit union. The Berkeley Bowl members. But in order to enlarge that pool of people to be our customers, they also usually have a way around it. They have organizations or associations that you can join for maybe a minimal amount of money, maybe $5 or $10 for a membership in that organization allows you to then be a member of the credit union. So you ask if we could start a credit union, and yes, we can, and that's on those 3 slides that you have that link to the credit union governing board is there, and the information on the requirements. Credit unions can be very small, just serving a very few people of a particular organization, not having very much money. They may not do a great deal of business at all. A lot of credit unions offer you better deals on your rates. But again, let me step back a moment to say how banks or credit unions make their money is off of the interest on your loan and the fees that they charge. So credit unions try to give you good rates on your interest. You may find a lower interest rate on your loans from a credit union and also on the fees that you pay. Then what it does with the money that it makes is it pays that dividend to its members in the share accounts. So when you borrow, you eventually are going to pay yourself. Right now, nothing's paying very much. The interest rates are very low on lots of different types of products, and the dividends that they're paying, it's been low for a couple, 3 years now. But once the money comes in, they do have the, there on the slide is how much it is worth, how much is covered. So you should not if you come into, well, it wouldn't be a sound maneuver to do. If you should win the lottery, you don't want to drop it all in your checking account. So it won't be covered.
I'll remember that next time I win.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how much. So up to 250,000 you could,
Oh, yeah.
but that wouldn't necessarily be the best place for it to be. So they have different products there that's on your slide. So these are all things that you can do at a credit union or bank, and a lot of them are available at those alternate financial institutions.
Can I stop you right there and ask a
Yes.
question? Do you mind taking questions as you go?
No, it's fine.
Okay. Um, do credit unions deal with, say, Roth IRAs or IRAs?
Yes,
They do.
they do.
Okay. Okay.
Now, I need to put a preface on that. Credit unions do not all offer the same products and services.
Okay.
So as all banks don't, it's sort of up to each one. The credit union that I'm familiar with does offer the Roth IRAs. It offers mortgages. They have some little bit different products. They have some products that were developed with different interest rates. We'll see how long those products are out there, but it was to help people deal with the COVID and where their personal situations are, in addition to the things that were going on from the government. We have a short-term loan to compete with the payday loans, because payday loans are very high interest, almost to the point where you can't pay them off if you needed a payday loan in the first place. But they're still very short-term loans at a better interest rate for people who need to be covered for whatever reason. We have floating home loans for people who are on houseboats that everybody doesn't offer. So some credit unions offer business loans. We do not at this time offer business loans. So you kind of need to decide what sort of banking services you need and what your life looks like according to what you want to do. Sometimes credit union services do not have all of the bells and whistles that the bigger banks do, just simply because we are small and can't afford the products that you need to sustain that. Like we do have online banking, but it was a while before we got the mobile banking and so forth, not as early as some of the other banks did. So our particular credit union does not have safety deposit boxes, but others do. And sometimes the insurance does not cover any of these items on here, but they may or may not be available from your credit union or your bank. And a lot of times they may be offered through a third party. I'm sorry, am I yelling at you?
No, I think you're coming across good.
All right. So now with your checking accounts, there are a few different things that are happening. Now you do not have to go into a bank to open an account. I'm not sure that we offer them all online, but the bank that Darnisha's asked about a few times, One United, is an internet bank. It does have a couple of brick and mortar buildings, but it's basically an online bank, so it can show up everywhere, which also means there's a little difference about our security and our signature. When I was first starting out, you came in and you signed a signature card, and you hope that somebody was going to look at your signature before they paid out your money or honored your check. That doesn't really happen anymore. Somebody presents a check, or it goes through the system and it goes through a clearinghouse, and they pay it unless something comes through that tells them not to pay, to stop it. So nobody ever really looks at your signature. So you need to be aware of what's going on in your account, because they won't know if somebody forged your name, even if it's a bad forgery, because nobody actually looked at it for the most part. Now, if somebody appears in person with the check that you wrote. Yes.
Can I ask the question?
Hmm.
You know, that's you bring up an interesting point. You know, and I just look at, you know, you have to, you know, so you go to the store and you take your finger and then you sign, or you sign on that piece of paper that doesn't really come through good with a pen. You know, I don't even know if they teach penmanship in school anymore. I know that
They
I know
do
that
I
not.
do. I do.
I was gonna say
They
you.
do.
Teacher of penmanship. I am the proud, I won't say owner because I don't own those babies, but I'm certainly the proud teacher of the best writing kindergartners in Alameda County.
It's,
My kindergartners can outright all the fifth and sixth graders.
so
You,
I'm so glad to hear that, because when I was teaching, my sixth graders could not print and nobody wrote in cursive.
wow.
But to be quite honest, I don't want to divert from the subject, but Mama Celeste, I'll call you and talk with you. But that's actually, as a teacher, something that I've really been struggling with, writing.
Okay.
Because I really force writing because it also helps reinforce letter name. I teach kindergarten. So it reinforces letter naming, letter recognition. And as I start to teach them the sounds, and then it's good hand-eye coordination. So I'm really, really big on writing. But as we are changing, I'm wondering if I'm going to have to change and if I am teaching children an obsolete topic. But that's another Wednesday discussion.
It is. And they kind of push it and have said, well, you know, all they need to do is keyboard now.
Right. One day.
And I happen to agree with you. I don't think keyboarding is sufficient.
So don't mean to digress, but one day you all, I'd love to talk with you about your thoughts about that, because as a teacher, I struggle with it. I love the way I teach it and I teach it very well, but I wonder, am I teaching them something that's useless?
You know, that's a very interesting topic that we should address later on. But getting back to the signatures, so what do they do now? How do they verify it's you? Retina scan, fingerprint. What what do they do?
Nothing.
Celeste,
Nothing. I'm
nothing.
shaking my head no.
Oh, well.
So in a way, so if you um, go into your bank in person and you say you want some cash and they have you sign for it, that they do kind of see what you signed on that pad that may or may not look really good, and your signature that's on file in the bank. But if somebody just deposits a check that you gave them, it's going to go through a clearinghouse. That's why there's a hold on all the funds. Well, a couple of reasons, but it just goes through. Nobody actually looks at it. It just gets tallied up according to the processing on it. They have a optic scanner that reads your check, the account, your routing number, your account number, and the optic scanner reads how much the check is for, and it gets cleared and the balances get traded and it gets posted back to your bank. Nobody's comparing your signature card. Also, by that same token of really checking it, you need to check that. The other thing that they will not do is my family and I were trying to open up a trust account, and they have a little bit different rules on how you do that. But we wanted the three of us to sign on the account, which they would let us do, but they would not let us require that all three people sign checks. They would not take that responsibility of saying all the signatures had to be there. So again, something else that's changed, because that used to be one of the ways that you protected funds. Now, in a business account, I'm not sure if they will still go through where you need 2 signatures or 3 signatures on your business checks, whether or not they will still do that.
They do. With where I work, we require 2 signatures on our business checks.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's usually there. That was the protection, but you kind of have to look out for yourself on your personal accounts.
Right.
So again, it's looking at what you need in order to figure out what kind of bank account you want. So your checking accounts now, as I said, can be opened online. Some of them are free. Some of them have different requirements. Some of them have different fees. So you need to figure out what it is that you can do. Some of them have, you can have free checking as long as you have automatic deposits, like your whatever your monthly income is that you're getting, your Social Security checks or your paychecks, that they're automatically deposited. A lot of times they'll give you a free checking account for that. Sometimes they have different accounts for seniors. Some of them have a certain number of transactions that you're allowed to do on an account for a set amount. They've kind of moved away from that a little bit. Some of them will do lots of things for you, but they also usually have a bigger balance requirement. So you need to read the fine print. Some of them will actually pay you interest on your money, but again, you have to see how much. And the opening deposit amount, sometimes it's $100, sometimes it's any amount, sometimes it may be more depending on what it is or package that you're trying to buy with them. Savings account, again, have different things and will pay you different rates according to how much money you've deposited. But do understand that savings accounts are not intended for you to withdraw money. So you cannot make more than 5 or 6 withdrawals from a savings account in a month. And that is not up to the institution. That is a banking regulation. So savings accounts don't do well if you need to pay stuff out of that account. You really need to have a checking account. A lot of checking accounts now will let you pay your bills. They have a bill pay feature. I guess we're going to come back to that in a minute. Let me do this slide that's here. The money market accounts are different kind of savings account. Those exist in investment places and there. And money market accounts really kind of pay what's going on in cash. It's not always an investment account. It's a shorter term account. It's more of a liquid account than having an investment account. Certificates of deposits, on the other hand, you want to hold them for a fixed period of time, and you can buy them for as short as 30 days up to several years. The longer, and it depends on how the market is going, which one is going to pay the better interest. On your certificates of deposit, there is a fee for early withdrawal. There's a penalty that you have to pay. So the kinds of accounts that you can own or how you own an account is also there. They have, you can set up accounts for kids. You can do that as a joint ownership. You can do it as a guardian. And again, it depends on how much control you want over them. And the difference for joint ownership for adults is that you can own it with joint accounts with rights of survivorship, and a joint account means that either one of you can do whatever. If it's a joint account with rights of survivorship, and some of this would change state by state, if one of you passed away, the other person would have the whole account. If it's a joint account without rights of survivorship, then it passes on to whoever that next of kin is. For example, if a friend and I had a joint account and it was with rights of survivorship, and I passed away, my friend would get all of it. If it was just a joint account with no rights of survivorship, then my portion would pass on to whoever's next in line to inherit my estate. So for me, it would be my child. So you have to figure out again what you want to have, what it is that you need to do. Sometimes it is good to have someone else on your account. You can also have an account that has payable on death. So they're not a joint account holder with you, but if you should pass away, then that person has access and gets that account. And that's sometimes important because people don't necessarily want to have a joint account, but if something happens to you, somebody may need to get to your funds before your estate is cleared, before the will and the estate is probated, before the insurance pays out. So that gives them access to the money to take care of whatever they need at that time. Having accounts with kids teaches them some responsibility for their accounts. So these are the questions that you might want to ask about what you're doing and how you want to hold it. You would not do it with the savings account, but with the checking account, a lot of them now have bill pay, which is something that I like because then I set up my bills and I set up the days they're going to be paid, as opposed to letting the whoever I'm paying set it up. Because if you have a credit card and they set it up, it's coming out on that day regardless. If I set it up and I control it, if I need to go in and make it a smaller amount, make it on a different day, slow it down a little bit because my check didn't come in, then I can do that. So I like having more control. Using bill pay means I don't pay the postage. They take care of it for you. It does take a little time. Some things are now set up so it happens electronically with the larger payments, like if you had a Walmart account or your utility accounts, they may have an electronic account, and that still takes 2 days. If it's somebody that you have to pay that's not a big company, it may take 5 or 7 days, and they will tell you when you use the system to set it up how long or when they expect the delivery date to be there. So that's another part of now for your financial accounts. Is that something that you want? They also have other payment ways that you can transfer money to people now digitally. That's available with different things. You can transfer money by phone to people. You can transfer it through, there are a couple of different services. One is called Zelle, Z-E-L-L-E, that you can set up to send people money. So you might have seen commercials where people are tapping stuff on their phone. That's the kind of thing they're doing. So you have to see if you're interested in doing any of that, if it's important that wherever you take care of your finances has that ability. So this is an example of something somebody's trying to do, and he's been saving money for his daughter's education. And he has 20,000, but he wants to have 40. But he's been keeping the money at home. So that money is not going to earn any interest. And he's now moved it to a safety deposit box. That's not going to earn any interest. And safety deposit boxes, money sitting in there or anything in your safety deposit box is not covered by any insurance because nobody knows what's in there but you. So he has some options, and which one would be better if he decided he wanted to take a loan for the other 20,000. So both of the options have an interest rate of 5%. One of them is for 5 years, the other one is for 2 years. And there's a considerable difference in the amount of money he would have paid at the end of time. So if he holds it for 5 years, he would owe over $5,500 in interest. If he held it for 2 years, it would be a little over $2,000. Now, the other portion of that, option B would obviously cost him less, but it's how much it's going to cost you per month as to whether or not you can afford it. So you have to take all of that into consideration. These are opening up your accounts, the different things it's going to require. You're going to need 2 forms of identification. They don't do a credit check when they open up a bank account for you, but they do have something called CheckX, which is like a credit report for banking. How have you done with your other bank accounts? Did you always overdraw your accounts? Did you not pay back loans and things that you had with the bank? So they will hold that information. I believe it's for 5 years. And so you may not be able to go in and open up a bank account. They may not be willing to have you have an account at their facility because you have a bad track record. So after the time has gone by, they may say, okay. So those are the different details for that. In general, whatever you're doing, and if you can do everything now on the internet, but of course there's safety things that you need to be aware of. And in general, for all of things that you do on a computer, a person came up with the security system, a person came up with the encryption. So anything one person thinks of and puts together, another person can think of and tear it apart. So you want to make that as difficult as you can. So you want to do strong passwords. And that gets to be a bit difficult because you don't want to do a unique password and then tape it to the side of your computer or under the desk, because that's where everybody's going to look for it. I personally don't store mine in my computer because, again, I don't want some third party there. Now, do they have access to it? Are they really keeping it anyway? Maybe. I don't know. But they always offer to keep your passwords for you, and I personally don't want them to do that. If you are on a public computer, like at the library, then you want to make sure that you do indeed log out of everything and perhaps remove your searches and so forth and your access from their histories. Nobody that's reputable should ever ask you for your information over the phone, especially if it's a phone call that you received. If you called for some information, say you called in to get information about your account, they should be asking you some questions about it. But you should know who you're talking to because you made the call. If somebody called you, usually a reputable person is not going to call you and ask you for identifying personal information. So those would be scams. So yes, it is easy to use all of the same passwords for everything. But once somebody figures it out or you get hacked, then you've exposed everything. So you are supposed to change your password. I'm guilty of not changing mine as frequently as they recommend. This is for all accounts that you have, your social media, your bank accounts, your credit card accounts, all of that. Some people answer the questions like Amira have, but they do it with fake information so that somebody can't find out about it from finding out your history. And sometimes there's information that people just don't know. You just have to remember what you answered, which can sometimes be challenging. So people that are always on their phones, everybody has an app, everybody makes it convenient for you to check. That's not something I would recommend you doing. You don't know if people can see over your shoulder as to what you've put in. So you want to take care before you start doing things and checking everything everywhere that you are, that you're in a private location. And I'm not sure about going on everybody's network, but that's just me. So first of all, we're talking about your everyday kinds of things and what you're doing with your funds. Where is it coming from? Can it be automatically deposited? And that's kind of nice if they do an automatic deposit, because then you have it right then. You don't have to make a trip to the bank. The weather out there is usually pretty nice, but here, I wouldn't want to go out in the snow and rain in the winter to deposit a check. Sometimes you can actually still take a photo of your check and deposit it, so you still don't have to go into the institution. Whether or not you're going to be paid interest on your account, if the money you get in goes in and comes right back out, then interest is not that important to you. Other features may be more important because your money's not going to sit there long enough to earn any interest. Being able to do other things with it, or you may be willing to hold a balance on it because you do get free checking. You can set up overdraft accounts between your savings and your checking, where if you accidentally exceed the balance in your checking account, they'll automatically transfer it over from your savings to your checking. Some people charge a fee for that. Some people don't charge a fee. Some people have overdraft lines of credit, but they do charge you a fee. So you need to look at the different things on an account and figure out what suits you best for what kind of things you're going to be doing. You may also want to look at the different institutions and what they offer by way of what you're doing for it. So what kind of products they have, can you get them all in one place? So they would have checking accounts, they'll have savings accounts, they'll have Roth accounts. Do they offer a bank card like a MasterCard or a Visa? What are the rates on those? Do they have any perks that come with it? Do they offer you any other kind of perks because you are a member there? Do they offer you discounts on things that you do? So these are things you want to take into consideration. Do they have ATMs? And do they charge you? Now, sometimes ATMs, there's certain ones that will charge you and there's certain ones that won't. There are bank accounts that will reimburse you if you happen to be at an ATM that they don't own or have an agreement with, and that ATM charges you, they may give you a credit back on your account for that charge. Credit unions don't have branches all over the place, usually. They may have some, but they don't have as many as, say, Chase would. Now, Chase is also one of the biggest, if not the biggest bank in the country. So there are Chase branches, brick and mortar branches all over the country. Well, what happens if you're banking at a credit union that doesn't? Credit unions have shared branching. So there are members to the shared branching where I can go into a credit union here and access my account, make deposits and get money from my account in California through a credit union here. So you can still access your funds in different places. Are there any questions about the basics?
I had a question, and I'm going to stop you, or maybe you can stop sharing your screen. Can you do that?
Yes, I
Okay.
think maybe
Okay.
after I figure out how to do that.
Uh-huh.
Let me
I'm
go
sure you
back
can.
to my Zoom menu.
Mm-hmm.
And why isn't it?
Let's see. I'm gonna try. Okay.
Yeah, because I'm just in a PowerPoint. I don't have, there we go.
Okay. All right. I just did it. I just did it.
Mhm.
You know, this is some really good information. It's basic information that a lot of us didn't get. You know, we kind of learned through trial and error through the school of hard knocks. Do you offer this to young people?
They
What you're,
do. The bank, most of the financial institutions, or several, will have information online on their websites for financial literacy for everybody. The credit union that I've been talking about does offer it to groups. Someone will come out and present this like I did, and they have special things that they do for kids. So they do.
I was just thinking in terms of, you don't get this in school, and we do rites of passage programs periodically. That maybe this would be one of the things that we would require our young people to go through, so they would just have, their basic, their ABCs, if you will, of finance. Your basic finance, what you need to know.
Yeah, I think it's really important. And also so that they get a chance to to deal with things virtually, but have a taste of reality. You know, when you can just
Yes.
click everything, you don't realize that you're spending money necessarily. When I was teaching, you know, we always had trouble with interest and percentages when we were learning math in school. Well, our kids don't always know it at all. They can't make change. They punch it into the computer, and then if you find that you have that penny to go along with that, whatever you bought, you screw them up because they don't know how to fix it when you give them that penny. The first paycheck that people get, and it's what, 20% less than your hourly wage because they took the money away from you. That's something that they don't know either, and that shock and usually followed with anger. How dare they take my money? Who said I wanted to pay that? So that's part of it. When they go into a store and you're going to buy something, I've asked them, how do you know if you have enough money if you can't do a percentage? You know, how much does it cost if you gonna buy one and get 50% off of one? How much is that? And you gotta have enough money for taxes.
So what you're saying is that they should have this type of education, maybe as opposed to algebra, advanced algebra 2.
They serve different functions.
Yeah,
So
but
I'm a
you know
person
what
that thinks
you know what I mean?
but I think our kids should have it all. I think that our kids don't know how to iron their clothes, which is why they walk around wrinkled. I think kids don't know how to hem, which is why they drag their pants and they're all worn out. So, you know, there are things that we've stopped doing, but I don't necessarily think that's better. So the number of people who don't know how to cook. So I think that needs to go. And then there was a change in education, which again is not on our topic this evening, but we started putting some things in a vocational track and we put other things in a college track. So, and then you
Yes.
have things like I went to an all-girls school, so they didn't offer auto mechanics or shop.
You know, I think another thing that would be good along with teaching the basic finances is teaching how to budget.
Yes.
Because it ties right in with what money that you have left over for investing. And I think that's kind of fundamental to get people to understand what's coming in and what's going out and how to create a budget and live within it.
And that is, and you know, a very simple thing because a lot of adults don't budget. A lot of people never have. So the way to look at that is to say, to add up all the money you're going to get. So you've got $100 coming in and what you want to go out. So your rent, your food, your groceries, your gas, what it costs you to park, how much you want to spend to go to the movies. And for younger people, it really sort of helps them figure out what they can or cannot afford. Excuse me. Like kids, and whether or not it should be taught. I taught it as part of math class, as to make it, why do you want to learn this? It was because you need it. So why can't you buy a $200 pair of gym shoes? Because you only make $100 a week, and by the time you pay everything, you got 50 cents left over at the end of the month. So, and they're like, huh? But, you know, that kind of realization. And for some adults, they have the same thing. You know, well, I can charge it. Yeah, you can. But if you charge it and you charge $1,000 and you're paying it off at $25 a month, you may never finish paying for it.
Oh, you know, I like what Sister Dondiway has just put in the chat, that my 17-year-old has a credit union account and he has been using his bank card for monthly expenses and one account for savings. Good for you, Dondiway. Yeah. And then Akanke says, yes, children need, this is so needed for children. I taught my grandchildren about banking by opening up a teen accounts for them. So these are things that okay, we as adults recognize, hey, you know what? We need to get on that. Looks like Mama Fanya has something to say about that too.
Yes, a coworker was telling me, I guess a tactic that she used with someone that she worked with some years ago. This former coworker of hers was having trouble saving. So Carmen suggested to her that she have her checking account at one bank and then have her savings account at another bank and put that, and put that bank card in a drawer to make it harder for her to take funds out of the savings account, put some obstacles in the way. So for
Yes.
someone who, doesn't have the self-discipline to keep their money in their savings at the same bank as their checking account, that's a strategy for someone who wants to try to save money.
It is. That's a good one. Also, depending on your habits, there are people who use money differently, and you have to look for it. If you're going to, if you can't hold on to money, so you don't take out a lot of money at one time. There's some people have a relative who will take out like $20 at a time, but they're taking it out of an ATM because the ATM is at the corner store and it's costing them $3.50. So by the end of the month, that $3.50 has added up a lot. If you've been taking $20 out 2-3 times a week, then you're spending $7 to $10 a week in fees just on trying to get to your money. So that's a lot. That would be more than interest would be on a loan, but it depends on what you have to set up to make work for you. So you try not to spend your money unnecessarily, I would think.
So I had a friend a while ago. Her son's grown now, but she was at work and her son called her and he found something that he really wanted to buy. And so she said, you know what the current interest rate is? And he said, yes. And she said, are you willing to pay that for the advance? And he said, yes. And so when she hung up the phone, I'm like, what kind of parent are you? You make your son pay but you know what? She was teaching him finance early on. He was 7. And he was willing to pay the interest for the purchase that it was that important to him. He knew what the current interest rate was and what it was going to cost him to get this toy. And, you just see that there's so many ways that you can bring in financial literacy with your children just over very small things.
Right. So no, I used to like to be grown up when I was a kid. My mom would give me, I guess she gave me deposit slips to play with like I was writing out a check. But you don't have much of that anymore. Oh, a couple other things let me say about your checking account. Also, whether or not you get a electronic statement. People will pay you to go paperless. They'll do it for your bank accounts, or I shouldn't say they'll pay you, but they will charge you if you don't sometimes, if you want a paper statement still. And banks only hold that information. You can only get your statements online. And for our credit union, when we switched over processing systems, we lost that history, so you didn't have it there. So I have gone back to getting everything in paper because with the settling of my mom's estate and trying to deal with family, money brings out funny things. I needed to go back and document the last 10 years of things. And since I throw nothing away, I had it all, but I didn't have access to the account, and my checking account, I didn't have it returned to me. I got the statement, but the checks didn't come back. So I don't know who those checks were written to. And when they closed out the check, then I didn't have access to go online and look at that check. It's very convenient while your account is active. You can go out there and click on the check and see who you made it out to, see who cashed it and when. But if you don't have that checking account and they close it, that's gone. You don't have that access. If you have carbon checks, the carbon fades.
Oh, yeah,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
something else you might want to think about. And you were talking about interest rates. When you get those tax refund loans, those loans they'll give you like from the tax preparation companies when they pay when they
Oh, your
prepare your
refund.
taxes and they say, oh, you've got a refund coming and we'll give you a loan for that because we know you're going to get this money back. The interest rates on those is ridiculous. Ridiculous. I don't know what it was recently, but I know in the past it's been over 20, 25, 30%. And that's over a very short period of time. So they are ridiculous. So beware. You don't want to do that unless you absolutely have to. Yeah.
Wow.
Um,
Sister Celeste, I don't know if you saw this in the chat.
yes, about the check system.
Yes.
That's what I was talking about called Check X. It's like a credit report on your banking. You again can Google search it for Check X. I believe what I read about it said that it holds the information for about 5 years. And let me check on the spelling of that because I think it's CHEX. It is called CHEX Systems, and they call it a consumer reporting agency under the Fair Credit Reporting Act.
You want to come?
So as I was saying earlier, that can keep you from opening up a bank account.
No, it's not.
Wow.
So,
I
and
think
again,
these-
like anything else, if there's something not right on your report, then you want to correct it.
I have a question about student loans. Currently, they're doing a lot of deferring payments and things of that sort. What is the best advice for students who are taking out a lot of student loans to just survive? And, I'm really concerned about my kids who have student loans. And, they're going to come out with $300,000 or $400,000 of student loan and, 10 years even paying that back. And then when you start looking at investing, or should they start saving for, quote, retirement or property, or should they just put the mad push towards the student loan?
Well, I don't know about student loans.
Okay.
From my own grandchildren and what we were doing, there are a couple of things I can tell you. My grandchildren just graduated, so she was starting to pay one of her student loans, and I don't know how they managed to do this. I still don't understand. She was using something with her account at a credit union called eCash. And somehow when she was setting up payments, it looked like she had set up the payment, but the payments were not going through. And her mother was the co-person on there. So the student loan people were calling and harassing my daughter. They dinged her credit. It took them a very long time to get it straightened out. And she just ended up paying them like 6 months at a time. I don't know why the eCash didn't go through with how they're setting it up. So you do kind of have to follow and make sure that these automatic payments are up. What we did for them, and what I would say, and the person coming next week will probably be able to answer better, is student loans have to be paid at a certain point. And what the focus is on that, I would say, like anything else you're doing, is you look at it. If the student loan is at 5% and they can make 10%, which is not true right now, then you would do the investing because you're making more. If you can figure out how to do that, you would pay the minimum on the student loans because you're making more on your investment. But you have to look at it at the time it's occurring. But you cannot, student loans will get you.
Yeah.
The government, the student loans, just like the IRS, is relentless. So, and they come after anybody and everybody forever.
Well,
I think these conversations are very important and significant because I think it's fundamental in our understanding of money and money management and to later to be able to pass along wealth, which is an area where the African American community is really lacking. Each generation starts with nothing, and so it's time to begin to think in terms of passing along wealth. Doesn't have to be a whole lot, but it's like something. And I think that begins with fundamental understanding as to how to manage your finances.
Yeah, and that's next week. I believe it's scheduled for next week. Am I correct there?
Ne-
Generational
ne-
wealth?
next next week is Generational Wealth by Madam JFK, and she's an attorney specializing in generational wealth in the African American community. And then following that, we will have. Now, this is something that's been out there, and many of you probably already know about it. I'm still trying to understand it. Is Bitcoins? You know,
Yeah.
yeah. So we're going to have a person that's specializes in bitcoins, and I just want to just say this is not an endeavor to get you involved in this in any way. It's just purely informational, and I really love what you have presented, Celeste. Basic financial literacy, and just listening to you. I wish I had met you about 40 years ago. So
Well, there is another part to this
uh,
that we can start. I need to figure out how to share my screen again. The other part of that is that we use credit.
okay.
And that's the other part that can bite us. It's the other part that I don't know if they're doing it as much as they used to, but our kids, when they go off to college, here, have a credit card. You
Yeah.
can charge whatever you want.
A lot of campuses have made it illegal. They can't have.
My wife just said, Doris just said, they made it illegal on a lot of campuses to do that.
That's
Just
good.
yeah.
Because a lot of kids
Instead of
ended up
switching
not only
credit.
coming home with student debt, but coming home with credit card debt where they were swamped for years.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Okay, and while I'm trying to figure out where I am and what I'm doing,
Okay. You still have the ability to share your screen with us.
yes, I need to find what I want to share with you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
'Cause I lost my Chrome. Your credit reports, there are 3 credit reporting agencies. They usually have pretty much the same information. Oh, by the way, there are participant guides for this. If you would like the participant guides that went along with the files that the PowerPoint that I showed, you could send me your email address or however else we're doing that. Okay.
Just put the email in the chat.
You can put it in the chat and I'll copy it down.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so am I shared or am I just there?
You're just there right now.
All right, let me share. So annualreport.com.
You know what? You're still not sharing.
Okay, annualreport.com is banking basics. How come you didn't give me the other file? Is the place where you go to get your credit report. Right now, because of COVID, they will let you get all 3 of your credit reports for no charge frequently. Usually it's once a year. So it's annualreports.com. And I don't know why it's not showing up.
Are you trying to share your screen?
Yes, but it's not giving me the next file that I want.
Oh.
That's the Zoom. That's the basics we were just looking at. How come I can't see the next one?
Well, I have the one with the references.
Okay.
Mhm.
And we're getting a little short on time as well, so we can go to the references and you can show that one and we'll talk about there, and then maybe I'll do the credit reports at another time.
Okay, okay. So let me share my screen. Oops. Can everybody see my screen now?
Yes,
Um,
I
I'm
can.
still, I'm still going to Wakanda. Um,
All right.
so here is your. This is what I received from Mama Darnisha. Coming up. Here it comes.
Okay.
And
So, oh,
hold,
if you go down to the second slide.
so did you see what I did? Just a minute. So I this is what we were trying to get you to do. See that
Yes.
icon right there.
Yeah,
That's
I just couldn't see it when you were first asking me for it. My
okay.
Zoom was overlaying it.
Okay. So here you go.
Okay, so this link is to how you start a credit union. Okay, NCUA is the Governing Association for Credit Unions. They have lots of information on their sites to give you different things. They have they call it a call report. It's like the end of the year report from credit unions, and in there they have a list of minority governed or owned credit unions, and they do it for minorities. As I've been looking around through this, there's several different ways that people have divided it up as to being Black owned and minority owned. So for the credit unions, minority is Blacks, Asians, Islanders, Latinos. This all counts in there, and it counts for their board as well as their members and potential members if they belong to a minority group. So from what I was looking at, there are like 515 credit unions that have minority participation or board leadership, and 42 banks.
Mm.
So you ask, I think Mama Afua asked about opening an account somewhere else. So I looked to see what you could do to open an account in Ghana, since we had talked about Ghana. And it's pretty much the same for a lot of places where you can go in and open an account. If you're a foreigner, it has a little bit different rules from other places. Sometimes you have to live in a country. Sometimes you don't. Most often you have to have a letter of credit. It's like a reference letter from your financial institution, but that link will show you how to open up a bank account in Ghana. There are some government funding and things that are out there and labeling that they do of different places. So this is a report on preserving minority depository institutions. It's a congressional report that comes out. Again, it's come out through NCUA, the credit union information. There is a Consumer Financial Protection Bureau that has lots of different articles on different things to protect yourself financially. So just lots of good information. And Community Development Financial Institutions is a fund, as this article will go into, and they do some community funding. They do some grants, some investments in the community. So different types of organizations have that designation. The credit union that I'm talking about is a community development financial institution, and its focus or its community is on lower income areas and underserved areas. So I thought those might be if those were questions that you had or areas of interest, those would be some places to start looking. So the next slide is Investopedia is a website. It had lots of articles on it. And this one in particular, people start wondering about offshore banking. We always hear about it in the movies, and people have Swiss bank accounts and they put money in the islands and all our mystery books, and they've got money invested here, money invested there. Well, the US government didn't like that. So it probably shouldn't have a thing right there. It should probably just say articles. But the US government has asked everybody to tell on you. So it doesn't really do any good if you have money that would be taxable to put it in another country's bank, because they're going to tell the US government about it. But they're still banking in the Caymans. They have different reasons for banking offshore. It might be that you think that the dollar is going to crash, and then having a bank somewhere else might be more stable. Having that insurance we talked about up to that $250,000 sort of came about as people making runs on bank back in the day where they thought their money wasn't safe. We don't really have that so much anymore. But this would tell you about this article will talk to you about offshore banking. It's not illegal to bank offshore. If you're trying to evade taxes and hide your money, that is illegal. Coursera.org is I don't know, are you guys familiar with that?
I haven't heard of it.
Okay, Coursera has I think they're called MAAT courses. They're, I'm sorry?
MOOCs, massive online courses.
Yes, that's what I want.
MOOC, MOOCs.
MOOCs, yes. So they have courses from all over the globe. They're offered free of charge. You can pay for some things and get certifications in doing whatever. And it covers a wide variety of things. Coursera isn't the only one out there. There are other ones, but this particular course that's listed here is on Coursera.org. And the course is being offered by the University of Florida, and it's in family financial planning. So it talks about some of these things that we've talked about, and you kind of step it through. And I think it was forecast to take about 15 hours to complete. If you want to do it for free, they have tests, but I don't think they'll grade the test. If you pay for it, then they will grade your test. So, but they have courses from MIT, they have courses from China, all over the globe. I tried taking one maybe in Chinese medicine, and the problem was it was in Chinese. So sometimes people have translated them, but other times not. As I was saying earlier, a lot of, okay, and there's another one that was just going in our chat about edx.org. So there's a few out there. But also on the website of financial institutions, there's One United Bank, which is the bank that Darnisha had asked about. This bank is owned by one Black man. He has a board of directors. It's an online bank. He has gotten to be the size he is by mergers and acquisitions of different things. But they have, this website will take them to their educational center. And you were asking about courses for students and different information. So a lot of the information like I presented tonight would be there for them. Cooperative Center, which is the credit union that I've been talking about. This is their financial literacy link. It will take you to similar courses that we've been talking about tonight. So as things are tough now, the thing to keep in mind is that money is cheap, so a lot of people are wanting to make loans to you. Credit unions will usually work harder to make a loan for you because they're community and they're smaller, and you establish these relationships so that over the years they know who you are. So they have a better sense of what's going on, and they have a little more flexibility in what they can do for you.
I agree. I didn't realize the importance of a credit union. One time I went to a soccer tournament with my son, and I used my check banking debit card, and I thought the room was going to be 119, and it turns out I was charged 1,119. No, 11,019. And so I didn't notice it. That was like on a Saturday night, and I didn't notice it until Monday. And what had happened, the Holiday Inn that we stayed in, they had done that with everyone. But you know, my money was wiped out. But the check, the credit unit stepped in and covered everything for me until that was straightened out. Gave me cash, and you know, that's when I realized then the importance of a credit union.
Otherwise, it'd been Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
BA, you would have been otherwise.
If we'd have just had a B of A or Wells Fargo, you know, I don't think they would have been so kind to give me lunch money. You know, so.
Yeah, so it does worth it, and it's worth putting and looking for it. Now, they also vary as to how they do things. Now, the credit union there that I've been talking about is still not community-wide, but it does have that membership way for you to join it. It does want to invest in the community and would love to give people loans. I am, as I've talked about, I think, trying to purchase a property in North Carolina, and the credit union here for Notre Dame has set up what they're doing so that they can offer mortgages in all 50 states. So that's something particular to them. And I doubt very seriously if they're a CDI or a minority depository institution, their board and their staff is pretty pale.
Pretty pale, huh?
Pretty pale.
Uh-huh.
It's a little paler here than I had remembered. The Cooperative Center is a CDFI institution. We are one of, I think, the only credit union in the Bay Area that's listed as a minority institution. So, and something to those of you who might be members of that credit union, we're short one board member. So right now there are 3 Blacks, 1 East Indian, I guess they count as Asian now, 1 person that I would call Asian, and 1 white female. So together they're 2 females and 3 Blacks out of the board. So although we're not a Black-owned institution, we are a minority banking facility. If that's important to you, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, that would be good, Soap. If anybody is listening and you may know someone. So let's see, we got another mention in the chat. Do you see that? What's the name of the credit
union? Is Cooperative Center Federal Credit Union. It is it's going to be moving, but right now it is at 2001 Ashby Street in Berkeley. They do have a website. So the former CEO was a Black male named Gary Bell. He died prematurely several years back now. And the CEO is a minority, non-Black, female. So we have a pretty diverse staff as well. So,
Excellent.
and I think we have products and interest rates that are competitive.
I was wondering, because I'm always thinking of classes and stuff, and I don't know, perhaps Ile Omide might want to avail themselves to your expertise on this, because these are some vital survival things that our children need to know. Very good information that you provided, and these resources that you have. The notes for the various sites. Very good information, Celeste, and I'm glad you're our first leg of financial. And as I'm looking around, so we've had 11 participants. I know what I was going to ask. Do you find yourself, when you encounter our people, that they tend to shy away from this?
Well, I have talked to people. There are a couple of things that I find very concerning. There are people that have been burnt with an account because they ended up paying. That's my email address if you decide later on that you want
Okay.
the printouts that go along with the slideshow or anything else.
Yes, I would, because I'm just like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are people that that don't bank because they've overdrawn their accounts. They may be caught up in the check X, or it just may have cost them a lot. There are people who might currently have an overdrawn account and they don't want to deposit any money into it because it'll take their money. So, but the number of underbanked people and unbanked people was surprising, like 25%. So that's quite a large number of people.
Could you repeat that, please?
Underbanked and unbanked people, I believe the numbers I saw went up to 25% of the population. So what that means is that when you get ready to go pay your bills, and then we have some people who pay their bills in person. I'm not one of those, but I have a friend and their money comes in and they actually have a account at the bank and are at a credit union, and they're there frequently, but they do not have a checking account, and they go and they get money orders. Now they have been there long enough and finagled a deal where their money orders are free, but money orders are not usually free. So people go in, they buy their money orders to pay their bills. And that adds up. So you're paying for the money order, you're paying for the postage, or you're paying for your gas to get there. If you go to the post office, people are in there buying money orders to pay their bills. So those are expensive alternatives, and they're usually there because people have gotten caught or they can't do it. When I worked at the senior center, there were older seniors who might have been starting to have some memory issues, but who walked around with their checkbook in their purse or in their pocket. It's not something I would recommend anymore. There's no need to do that. But if you are not going to watch your debit card, then that may be a problem. So we haven't gotten used to those things, to do the digital age of some of the things that are coming along for us. And there are ways to fix things. Credit unions will work for you toward repairing your credit, work toward trying to give you a loan. There are people that, looking at the credit scores, which we didn't get to today, if your credit is not great, they may still give you a loan. It may cost you a little more, but you still may have access to it. You can get secured credit cards where, say, your credit's not really good or you've screwed it up, made a couple of mistakes in the past. You can get a card so that you have the convenience of using a card, but the money's already on it. You've already prepaid it. So to help you,
just in the few minutes that we have remaining, can you may be able to address this? We've noticed a lot of banks, like Bank of America, closing. Branches closing, rather.
In our areas.
In the Black areas. Is there a reason for that? Are they getting
I
ready
don't
to
know
do
about
away
it
with
being
cash? Or
particular to Black areas.
uh,
Brick and mortar banks are very expensive. And as more people are going more online to do things, then some banks are closing. Now, I know that Chase told me the bank they have in downtown Berkeley, it's a huge building. It's never fully staffed anymore. Um, when you want something, you can go in and see a banker, but the banker calls. You're sitting there and they make the call for you, but they're calling an 800 number to take care of whatever your issue is. If
mm,
you have an investment issue, then you have to make an appointment with whoever their investment service is for whatever day they're coming in. And they told me that particular location was going to go away in a year or so. It may be gone by now. But I think they were still going to do another one. They still are making branches. And after COVID, I don't know what's going to happen. But now they have more automated tellers, and that's very definitely cheaper than having a brick and mortar building.
yeah, yeah. So Minister Amati left a little bit earlier, but he sends his congratulations on this very informative class that we've had, and I think that we've, if we didn't learn something, we've gotten a refresher on things. Sister Dondiwe, I wanted to just ask, how is your son in Nigeria? How is he doing?
Oh boy, he's had a few bouts with different illnesses, but other than that, he's pretty good. Malaria has been getting next to him. He's had it twice within the last 5 months.
Oh no.
Maybe 3 weeks ago, he had malaria and typhoid. So he was out for 2 weeks. He had to go to the hospital and get 3 injection each day, and then he was on medication. They actually wanted to admit him to the hospital, but he said that's pretty costly. So he just insisted that they give him the medication and he go home. He went home. So and then he just texted me yesterday morning, Mama, my eye is swollen. And I was like, send me a picture. So he has a sty on his eye. And he was like, oh my goodness. But then he called today. I told him about getting some over-the-counter medications and putting a warm towel on it. And he's feeling better. And he says that he just felt so thankful today, thankful that he had a family in the States. He says the country is just really going through a lot right now. And the city, they had a big protest yesterday. The fuel prices have skyrocketed. And with that, everything else is very, very expensive. So he was like, one large bag of rice, it's about $75 now for a bag of rice.
Oh my.
Whose dollars?
I'm sorry?
Whose dollars?
American dollars.
75 American dollars for a bag of rice?
No, so he's saying that they pay $75 for a bag of rice. So yeah, you're right. Their money is less than our money, but they're paying $75 for a bag of rice, opposed to years ago, they may have paid $10 for a large bag of rice. So they're not making any money. So to pay $75 for a bag of rice it's a lot of money, to them. He just recently started a taxi cab service, and his goal is to make at least $13 a day. That's his goal. That's where he says that he could have a decent quality of life, decent living, food. But if your fuel prices are so expensive, then, you got to charge your customers more money. But if the customers aren't making enough money, so it's just an awful cycle. And he has opened my eyes to a lot. You know, I know there's famine all over the world, and I know that you know, the continent is having a hard time, but never in a million years that I would have thought is as bad as it is. You know, he says that we're dying of malnutrition versus coronavirus, and then those numbers aren't, you know, those, he said those aren't the right numbers, the correct numbers, because many people aren't get tested for it. You know, so he just feel thankful that he has us, but he also, you know, that's his country, and he wished that the government would do a little bit more for them. But it looks like that's not happening. So thankfully, he and his family are better, but prices are just going up and up and up. And just like we had the problem with toilet paper when the pandemic hit, they had the problem there with yams and with rice as well, you know. So rice is the main staple there.
So where is he?
Benin City.
I'm sorry.
Benin City, Nigeria.
Benin City. Okay.
N-I-N, Benin City, Nigeria. Mm-hmm.
Well, please give him our greeting, and you all, let's remember him in our prayers and keep the light on him and those that are on the continent. Thank you again. Thank you for letting us know what's going on, Don Dewey. Celeste, excellent presentation this evening, and it's been recorded so that we can look at it at a future time. Great information and great footnotes to let us know what was up. So I want to just thank everyone for coming. Next week we will be talking about generational wealth with Madam JFK, specializing in generational wealth in the African American community. So I want to ask some, I have some questions on that. You know, so I'm looking forward to that. Tell your friends, you know, tell them to not be afraid of financial information. It's something that can help you and perhaps even save you in a lot of respects. I like what Kat said. You know, we need to get this out. And I felt like Mama Fania, you know, she knew what was up as well as Debbie. I see what she put in the chat. I never even heard of massive open line courses. So learned a lot today, and that's the purpose of the Black Knowledge Matters Wednesday night. So it's 6:35. We went over a little bit, but great information. Mama Fua, you have any closing comments? You have to take yourself off of mute, though, if you do.
No comments, but I sure learned a lot like you. And I took some good notes. Thank you very much, Celeste.
You know what? You know what the problem? You know what the problem is with these kind of things? It's just like when you're growing up in school. The kids that really didn't need the tutoring, they would go get the tutoring, but the ones that wouldn't, that needed it wouldn't go. So we need to reach those people that really need to hear this information to go.
25%.
Let's get a class of students. I think that should be offered to our school, but also a class with teenagers. I know Chase does something for high schoolers. Last year, Jules went to one of their workshops, but I would love to see some of our children participate. I know my son has one ear here and one somewhere else, but that would be great if we could have more students with this introductory workshop to financial literacy.
Yes.
Yes, I'm sure the credit union would be happy to present it. Also,
we want you to present it.
Well, we're on Zoom, so I can.
Yeah. We like you. You know?
That made it really nice.
Uh-huh.
And if you guys want the credit report one, I can either just email you the information on it like we did today, or I can present it and you just go ahead and schedule me in.
Yeah.
All right. We might do both. We
Yes.
might do both. All right. Thank everyone. Thank you, Celeste, and see you next week. Next week we're going to be talking about generational wealth. This Sunday, Minister Amadi is going to be delivering the message. Uncle Job Seneb, life, prosperity, and health. Bye, Pookie. Live up.
You guys stay safe out there. Breathe easy.
Yes, 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 yes.
Red sky.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.